In today's episode, we're talking about how not to burn out. So in this video, I'm going to talk to you all about burnout red flags, how not to burn out, the stress response, and nutrients for energy. So let's get cracking. So how do you know if we've burnt out? Well, burnout is the inability to cope with modern life, and it's basically caused by multiple stresses. And you get burnout when your plate is already full, but you keep on adding to it. Now, some of the key signs of burnout are you're extremely exhausted all the time. You wake up in the morning, even after a good night's sleep, and still feel tired. You experience dizzy spells throughout the day. You've lost your drive, your motivation, and you find small tasks challenging. These are really the red flags of burnout. So let's look at the stress response and understand a little bit about the science of burnout. So when we experience stress, the heart beats fast, our pupils dilate, and sugar is sent directly to the muscles to deal with this stress. Now, there's different stages of stress. There's the alarm stage, which is the initial stage of stress. And this is really where an overacting of the sympathetic nervous system is happening, where you're pumping out adrenaline, lots of cortisol increases, and blood flows away from the brain until the muscles. That's like a healthy, normal cortisol response. Now, the second stage is the resistance stage, and this really occurs over a long period of time. And this really happens when you have one level of stress that doesn't go away, and then another one, and they build and they build and they build. And really you start to feel like the burden of stress, and you start to feel a bit tired, a bit irritable, a bit pressured. Maybe your sleep is not so great. The last stage of the stress response is the exhaustion stage. And this is really stage 3, and you really know about it. This is what we call burnout. And this is really when the adrenal glands have been so overworked that they no longer function, or they are not functioning optimally. And when you have this level of burnout, you really know about it. You can't get out of bed in the morning. You feel very weak. You feel exhausted. You're depressed, and you basically lost your thrive in life. So how do we deal with stress? If you feel like you've burnt out, or if you can't cope, or you're really feeling overwhelmed all the time, then I want to share with you a little tip that helped me out. So in case you didn't know, there are actually 2 ways that you can deal with stress. You can either react or you can respond. And my advice is to try and lengthen the space between stimulus and response. This is really the key. And I always say that managing stress is a lot easier than you think. You just have to put it into perspective. So for example, next time you're faced with a stressor, ask yourself this one question. Is it the end of the world? No. And then you ask yourself another question. Will it change in time? Yes. And then the third question is there someone worse off than you? And that's just a little tip that you can use next time you feel stressed or overwhelmed to basically nip it in the bud. So I want to share with you my top 10 burnout tips. So my first tip, if you feel like you're struggling with burnout, is to slow down. Now, I said this before, but you really get burnout when your plate is already full, but you keep on adding to it. And your life will always feel 100 miles per hour if you don't stop or if you slow down. And you have to remember that rest is productive. So one of my favorite things to do when you're feeling burnt out is to ask yourself, what can you stop doing? And where in your life can you say no? Because no amount of pushing will heal burnout. Rest and patience are the bottom line. Tip number 2 is to make sure that you're identifying your stressors. Now, this is really, really key because if you do not eliminate them, you will only be adding fuel to the fire. So you need to ask yourself what or who is zapping your energy right now, and how can you reduce your exposure to that stressor, or how can you remove it immediately? So my next tip for recovering from burnout is to try not to skimp on sleep and try to get as much sleep as you can, because sleep is absolutely paramount for the recovery of the adrenal glands. And that is because when you're sleeping, that is when your adrenal glands are manufacturing cortisol levels for the next day. Now, if you're not sleeping enough, you're not going to perform your best, you will not recover well, and you won't be making good food choices the next day. So it really creates a slippery slope. Now, you want to make sure that you're getting at least 8 hours of sleep per night. And the hours of sleep you get between 10 o'clock and midnight are the most boosting. They are the most refreshing. So if you're asleep within that window, you're much likely to wake up the next day feeling much more bouncy and more energized. My next tip is to make sure that you're setting boundaries. I always say that setting boundaries is just as important as setting goals. Without boundaries, you will feel overloaded and you will definitely lean to burnout. And my top tip here is to really say no without explaining yourself. Give yourself permission to be kind to yourself. to have some downtime and to do things that are going to heal your adrenal glands. And my best advice here is, when you're setting your boundaries, just to start small and be consistent. Make sure you're taking regular breaks throughout the day. This is really key to recovering from burnout. Try to breathe, take time out, and really get away from the current stressor. Studies suggest that taking regular breaks actually improves concentration, it improves memory, and it improves focus. So please make sure that you're doing that, guys. My next tip in recovering from burnout is to make sure that you're eating adequate calories and to make sure that you're eating around the clock. Now, most people are not eating enough calories and they're over-exercising. And this is actually one of the fastest ways to burn out. So you've got to be really, really careful. My best advice is to make sure that you're eating every 3 to 4 hours to nourish the body. You have to remember that every meal is an opportunity to feed or fail the body. And for anybody struggling with burnout, food in is energy in, and that is why you need to be eating around the clock. Now, when you are choosing your meals, guys, make sure that you're eating nutrient-dense food, because normally when I see patients that are burnt out, stressed, and overwhelmed, they actually have a lot of nutrient deficiencies. So eating foods that are high in nutrients and nutrient-dense is really, really key. You want to make sure that you're focusing on protein, healthy fats, vegetables, fruits, and water every day. And you want to make sure that you're not drinking too much caffeine, because caffeine behaves just like sugar in the bloodstream, and temporarily it kind of whips the adrenal glands into shape and it provides like a superficial energy. But over a long period of time, it can actually make you feel more exhausted. So if you're the type of person that wakes up in the morning and you're really, really tired, the worst thing you can do is reach for some caffeine. What you want to do is get some water in, maybe some salts, because salts is really good for supporting the adrenal glands and for supporting your blood pressure. And then go for the caffeine-free teas like mint tea, ginger tea, and chamomile tea. Now, if you are struggling with burnout, guys, another tip I have for you is to make sure that you're cutting back on alcohol. Alcohol is very inflammatory in the body, but what it does is it actually robs vitamins and minerals from the body and causes inflammation. It can really make you extremely tired. It can really damage the adrenal glands. So you want to make sure that you're not drinking red wine, you're not drinking vodka, and instead you're drinking water, maybe some electrolytes. These are excellent for the adrenal glands, and making sure that you're replenishing all your body with the vitamins and minerals that it needs. Now, some of my favorite vitamins and minerals that give you energy are things like B vitamins, magnesium, and vitamin C. Before we continue, a quick reminder from Expertia Naturals and the Longevity Project. Now, we focus on the importance of not just taking blood tests, but understanding your results as meaningful signals that can help highlight areas of your health that may need attention. You'll find a helpful PDF in the description below explaining why blood testing matters and how to better understand your results. So let's talk a little bit about nutrients for stress. Now, my favorite nutrient for stress is magnesium. I don't know if you know this, but 50% of the population is actually deficient in magnesium. And magnesium is a key mineral involved in energy production, muscle relaxation, blood sugar regulation, cellular repair, and anti-inflammatory processes. Now, how do you know if you're deficient in magnesium? Well, you're going to know about it. You have severe sugar cravings. You probably feel really tired all the time. You have muscle cramps, heart palpitations, and probably sleep issues. Now, the body's energy molecule, ATP, is not active until it's bound to a molecule of magnesium. So magnesium really is essential for energy production. And if you wanted to take a magnesium supplement, guys, go for it. I love taking about 200 to 400 milligrams per day, or you can increase your magnesium-rich foods like spinach, kale, broccoli, cashew nuts, avocados. Now, my other favorite nutrients for stress and energy is ashwagandha. This is literally one of my favorite herbs. It's basically an adaptogenic herb that helps to support the adrenal glands. Now, a study of 58 participants showed that ashwagandha actually lowers levels of cortisol levels in the bloodstream after 8 weeks, which is super cool. It's also been shown to lower cortisol levels by about 30%. Another study found that those who took about 240 milligrams of ashwagandha extract every single day, they experienced significant reductions in anxiety. Ashwagandha also really helps to increase serotonin levels, and it's particularly helpful for anybody who is suffering from anxiety and low mood. So before you go, this is just a reminder that you can actually find a full summary of each episode of the Longevity Project in the description below. If you're enjoying this content and would like to stay with us, please give this video a like and share it with somebody who might find it useful. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. So thank you for joining us today, and stay tuned as we continue to explore wellness, healthcare, and longevity with Expertia Naturals.